Mr. Chairman, the United States of America is a unique nation that is premised on the foundation that all of us in the human family were created equal, and that each of us is endowed by our Creator with this unalienable right to live. Yet this committee is convened here today in a hearing titled Planned Parenthood Exposed, examining the horrific abortion practices at the nation's largest abortion provider. Because numerous video recordings have been recently released that incontrovertibly document corporate officers and employees of Planned Parenthood casually discussing their rampant practice of harvesting and selling the little body parts from many of the hundreds of thousands of innocent babies they are guilty of killing in their abortion clinics across this nation every year. These video recordings irrefutably reveal officers of Planned Parenthood haggling over the price of these little organs and body parts, and casually describing ways of killing these little babies, often using much more painful methods like partial birth abortion, to make sure the saleable organs of these babies remains undamaged. One of these videos describes an incident where one of Planned Parenthood's employees calls one of the younger employees over to witness something that was, quote, kind of cool, unquote. That one of the baby's hearts was still beating. The older employee then said, quote, okay, this is a really good fetus, and it looks like we can procure a lot from it. We're going to procure a brain, unquote. And then using scissors together, the two employees, starting at the baby's chin, cut upward through the center of this child's face and pulled out the baby's little brain and placed it in a container where it could later be sold. Mr. Chairman, I find it so crushingly sad that the only time this little baby was ever held by anyone in his short life was by those who cut his face open and took his brain. Have we forgotten that it was not so long ago that authorities entered the clinic of Dr. Kermit Gosnell? They found a torture chamber for little babies that it really defies description within the constraints of the English language. The grand jury report at the time said, quote, Dr. Kermit Gosnell had a simple solution for unwanted babies. He killed them. He didn't call it that. He called it ensuring fetal demise. The way he ensured fetal demise was by sticking scissors in the back of the baby's neck and cutting the spinal cord. He called it snipping. Over the years, there were hundreds of snippings, unquote. Ashley Baldwin, one of Dr. Gosnell's employees, said she saw babies breathing, and she described one as 2 feet long that no longer had eyes or mouth, but in her words was making this screeching noise, and it, quote, sounded like a little alien. And yet the President of the United States of America and many members of Congress have not uttered one single syllable against these gut-wrenching atrocities of Kermit Gosnell or Planned Parenthood. For God's sake, is this who we truly are? The fact is, Mr. Chairman, that more than 18,000 late-term, pain-capable unborn babies were torturously killed without anesthesia in America in just the last year. Many of them screamed as they died, but because it was amniotic fluid going over the vocal cords instead of air, we couldn't hear them. It is the worst human rights atrocity in the history of the United States of America. Now, I know that many of you on this committee will hold to the standard line and try to cloak all of this in the name of freedom of choice. But I beg you to open your own hearts and ask yourselves, what is so liberating about brutally and painfully dismembering living, helpless little human babies? In spite of all the political noise, protecting these little babies and their mothers is not a Republican issue. And it is not a Democrat issue. It is a basic test of our humanity and who we are as a human family. Mr. Chairman, the sands of time should blow over this Capitol dome before we ever give Planned Parenthood another dime of taxpayer money. And in the name of humanity, Democrat senators should end their filibuster against the pain-capable Unborn Child Protection Act in the U.S. Senate, because passing it would prevent the vast majority of these evil acts by Planned Parenthood these videos have now so clearly shown to the entire world.